designated LOR-17 by the Terran Space Agency, orbited a cold gas giant in the outer belt of an uncharted system. A world of jagged ridges, sulfur lakes, and long blue shadows. It wasn't meant for landing. Just a quick flyby scan. But Lieutenant Commander Elias Trent had found himself marooned there, the result of a sudden meteor impact that ripped through his shuttle's hull mid-transit. The emergency pod ejected automatically, hurling him through a silent void onto the moon's trembling surface. He awoke in darkness, groggy and numb, inside a damaged pod tilted to its side. The onboard systems flickered, emergency lights pulsing red. Atmosphere levels were marginally breathable with a suit, radiation just at the edge of survivability. The AI navigator, compromised from impact, could only manage basic environmental readings. The message was clear: help would take weeks, if it came at all. He'd have to survive on his own. At first, it seemed possible. The pod had enough oxygen to last 8 days, food for 5, and a limited water recycler. He rationed strictly, exploring his surroundings only in short bursts. The terrain was a maze of glassy ravines and stone outcroppings, bathed in constant twilight from the gas giant's reflection. There were no signs of fauna, no movement, just wind and silence. But on the third day, he found the prints. They were not from his boots, he double-checked. They were wider, smoother, almost like fingers pressing into fine dust. They formed a trail between 2 spiked rock columns, leading down into a fissure. He stared at them for minutes, heart pounding in his throat. Another survivor? Unlikely. He called out once, voice muffled by his helmet. Nothing replied. He followed the trail the next morning, against better judgment. Maybe it was instinct, or maybe desperation. Either way, he descended the fissure and entered a tunnel system etched into the moon's crust. The prints became more erratic, circling, doubling back, then vanishing altogether. He turned to leave, and that's when he saw it. The creature didn't move at first. It looked like a pool of oil, perfectly still, nestled between 2 boulders. Then it rippled. A wave passed through it like a breath. Elias froze, blood running cold. The thing raised part of itself, not limbs exactly, but extensions of its body, like tendrils unfolding from thick syrup. It shimmered in hues his mind couldn't define. And then it moved toward him. He turned and ran, stumbling in the loose dust, heart hammering. The tendrils didn't move fast, but they glided unnaturally, never touching the ground. He reached the surface, panting, and didn't stop until he was back at the pod. He sealed the hatch, trembling. The creature didn't follow. Not that he could see. That night, he dreamed of things he never remembered living. Alien skies, foreign stars, suns that rose in violet fire. Cities of crystal, laughter in languages he couldn't speak. He awoke sweating. The memories were not his. They felt absorbed. He thought of the creature, the way it shimmered, the prints. Something began to make sense, in a twisted way. The thing, whatever it was, could take memories. Maybe not just consume them, but live them. Live as them. He tested a theory the next day. Brought a dead sensor drone into the fissure, tossed it near the creature's resting place. The pool stirred. It reached toward the drone, enveloped it like a fluid swallowing metal. The tendrils paused, then retracted. The creature stilled. Hours later, when Elias dared to return, the drone was fused to a boulder, partially melted. The creature was gone. He returned to the pod with a pounding head. That night, he dreamed again. This time he saw memories of Earth, but wrong. His sister's face, older. His dog, the one that died when he was 10, still alive. He saw himself at a birthday he never had, then in a battle he never fought. Were they his memories, or someone else's version of his life? The next morning, he tried to recall his mission parameters and realized he couldn't remember his captain's name. He couldn't remember why they were in this system. Panic surged. He accessed the pod's logs, still functional, and scanned the flight data. No names. No crew photos. Only his own name logged manually. Lieutenant Commander Elias Trent. He stared at the log for a long time. Did he input that? Had it always been there? Or was the creature inside his mind now, feeding on the fragments? The hallucinations grew worse. He saw the creature in his peripheral vision, gliding across rock walls, slithering through seams in the ground. At times, he heard it whispering, not with sound but in thought, half-formed ideas. Not his. Warnings. Apologies. Hunger. He tried staying awake, terrified of what he might lose if he slept. But fatigue dragged him down. He began recording everything he knew about himself on his suit's internal memory. Short, frantic clips. My name is Elias Trent. I was born in Houston. I have 2 sisters. I graduated from Annapolis. I've never been married. I don't like coffee. The basics. Desperate anchors. But each day he woke with less certainty. The clips helped, but they felt like lies from a stranger. Was he even Elias Trent? Or just the echo of him? Then the idea came. A trap. If the creature absorbed memories on contact, maybe it was vulnerable during that process. Maybe it needed time. Maybe it lost awareness while consuming. He built a decoy, a humanoid figure cobbled together from suit fabric, spare parts, and the voice module of his comms unit. He rigged it with a remote detonator from the emergency beacon. Crude, unstable. But if he could bait the creature, he took the decoy to the fissure under cover of dusk. Waited until the shimmer returned, soft and pulsing in the rocks. He activated the voice module, a loop of himself, pleading panicked. Help me, please. I'm trapped. I don't remember. He threw the decoy forward. The creature moved immediately, eagerly. Its tendrils wrapped the figure, pulling it close. Elias pressed the trigger. The explosion was deafening, even from a safe distance. Flame and dust erupted upward. When he dared to approach, the fissure was partially collapsed. No sign of the creature. Blackened rocks, melted metal, a stench like ozone and copper. His ears rang for hours. He returned to the pod, hoping, praying. That night, no dreams came. For the first time in days, his sleep was silent. He awoke and checked the recordings. They were still there. His name, his voice. He repeated them out loud. It sounded right. Familiar. On day 8, a signal pinged from orbit. A recovery drone, dispatched earlier than expected, had located the emergency beacon's burst signature. It would land within 6 hours. He collapsed in the pod and cried. But something gnawed at him. A sliver of doubt. As the drone descended, he stood near the pod, trying to recall his earliest memory. Not from the crash, but before. Childhood. He remembered playing on a beach, but couldn't remember which ocean. He remembered his sister, dark hair, sarcastic smile, but not her name. He remembered Annapolis, but couldn't picture his diploma. When the drone's hatch opened, he stepped inside, sat in the sterile bay, and looked at his reflection in the console. His face was his mostly. But the eyes. Something shimmered there. Faint. Alien. A memory not quite buried. He placed a hand on the glass, and for a moment, saw a ripple pass through it, not in the glass, but in him. A wave of something dark. Absorbed. Waiting. He smiled, but the expression didn't feel like his own. And far below, in the fissure's shadowed depths, something stirred. Something that had learned the shape of humanity. Something that remembered what it meant to be someone else. Because some memories, once shared, never really fade. They just wait,